Mr. Jacob Breuning works for the Danish Film Institute. He is a consultant in cinema culture, children and youth, head of Denmark's National School Cinema Program, working with film and media literacy. He will be talking about fostering critical thinking via film education. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I could hear on the applause that you guys need coffee, so I will do this very, very briefly. Only 10 minutes, I promise. Before giving a speech like this in English, I think it's very, very important that we all remember that English is a world language. However, bad English is an even bigger world language. I will probably contribute to the later one here. Anyway, as you may know, at the Danish Film Institute, we have a long tradition for focusing on children's films. For an example, 25% of the governmental funding producing film has to go to producing children's films. And film is usually seen from an artistic or cultural perspective, but we think it's important to see it from an educational perspective as well. But you need a little pick-me-up, so I brought a film, only 2 minutes, a horror film, playing with, I guess, some of our primal fears, a child and an axe. So let's see this one. Can you put the sound up a bit? Yeah. Okay. Now you're awake. Yes, this was a festival prize winner called Careful with This Axe by Jason Stott, and I think it's a really perfect example of what a film can, sort of what the film powers is, and that is very shortly, very directly tell a story. It only needs 2 minutes to thrill us, give us horror and everything. And it can also a film can tell very complex stories pretty easily. Film uses natural language. It's a very accessible media. You don't need any prior knowledge to understand a film like this, especially where there's no speaking involved. And finally, film gives a common experience, a common frame of references, which I think is very important. Watching the film together with you makes my experience so much bigger when I hear you go, "Oh, oh." That works for me. And it's also very good at having a conversation, for instance, in class afterwards. We had this common experience, and common experience are seldom when we now sit with our own devices all the time. Finally, or not finally, it gives us an emotional experience and understanding. you are very easily drawn into a film. You sort of live it out. I could hear some of you lived it a little more than others. And it also offers a chance to understand, learn about ourselves, and learn about the world. And that's what we want to do at the Danish Film Institute. We want children to experience and experiment with film. We sort of want them to swing the axe, but not without some kind of guidance, not like the kid in this film. I guess the classic example is that if you live by the sea and you have children, you can either build fences or you can teach your child how to swim. And we want to teach our children how to swim because, and we heard that over the past days, the constant flow of moving images, film, information is so huge that it's very important that you get the right tools to navigate in it. A very famous quote from Jean-Luc Godard, the French director, stated that film is truth 24 times a second. Well, of course it is, especially in a time where the White House preaches alternative facts. And to do Godard totally justice, he actually said that film is truth 24 times a second, and every cut is a lie. So we want to teach the children or have them experience the truth 24 times a second, but also understanding the cut, understanding the film language, how does it tell a story. Because, as my very old friend Nelson Mandela stated, films are a powerful and evocative tool for fostering understanding and tolerance in the world. Or, as Jean Moreau, the French actress who died last year, I think, said, I would call cinema a mirror of the world, and what do we see in this mirror? We see ourselves. So at the Danish Film Institute, we work with this overall vision that all children in Denmark should have the opportunity to experience, understand, and creating films. Therefore, we have a school cinema program, we have a preschool cinema program, and we also have an online portal, a website, where you can see films. We have more than 1,700 short and documentary films that are streamed to schools in Denmark. 90% of the schools in Denmark subscribe to this. And at the school cinema program, for instance, we have 85% of the municipals participating. 250,000 children every year go to a school cinema and sort of use the cinema as a classroom. That's equal to a third of the Danish total amount of students. So it's a lot. And we do this because, of course, something as powerful as film should be celebrated and understood. I think accessibility is very important. We want the film to be accessible for all children all over Denmark, but they also need to be accessible for understanding, for teachers to teach film. And that's why we have this online site where we have more than, well, approximately 700 different study guides for each film screened at school cinema, or some of the films, short and documentary films, educational materials, talking about a film's theme or topic, but at the same time, all materials also deal with the film language, so we can really understand film and be critical thinkers. It's not what a movie is about, it's how it's about it, as Roger Ebert said, the famous film critic. And finally, creating film. At the Institute, we have a interactive film studio for children called Film X, where you in very short time, 3 hours or so, can go through different stages of making a film and finally have a small production. But all over Denmark these days, there's a lot of hands-on movie making going on, and it's great because when you do things, you learn. And well, we celebrated it yesterday with a prize for a project like this, I guess. I think creating film is very important today because it's a way of getting your voice heard, participating. You need to be able to do film and moving images. We had all our activities evaluated by a Danish professor, and one of her conclusions was that working with film constitutes an essential access to digital media and information literacy because film is, in a sense, the mother of multimedia. Hooray. And now, just to end in a really, really high note, I need to bring out some of the real old thinkers, Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, who simply stated that without images, it's impossible to think. Now, coffee. Thank you.